Thank you everybody for attending and welcome to the panel of experts. I'm so excited seeing some past faces and some new faces, which is really exciting. Our topic today is why choose our school, Kidz Kare, and why the Kidz Kare business. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to just basically hope that more and more parents fall in love with the idea of coming to Kidz Kare, because we are looking to really double and increase our enrollment, but we're also just reintroducing a whole virtual line of ways to bring programming in with kids. I'm Jennifer, I'm the founder of Kidz Kare, and I just have a passion for helping families grow together with our programs. My goals are to basically mirror and match your goals. So if your children are going to a specific grade, then Kidz Kare wants to be there along the way. And what we want to do is always help prepare. So whether your children are entering the elementary stages, the high school stages, or the university stages, or just starting out at our school and our daycare, all of those stages are goals that we want to meet with the developments of the kids. And so with partnership with parents, Kidz Kare became a program where we actually grow up with the kids and watch them grow to their next evolution, and very excited about that. So I'm going to take 2 seconds and just talk about Kidz for a second, and then I'm going to introduce the wonderful panel that we have here today. Kidz Kare was founded actually in 2003. It started as an in-home daycare, which is quite exciting. It evolved into multiple programs, after school programs, prep for grade 1, really at its early stages. I wanted a better, basically, environment for my kids. And in the time I was a young mom, I had no idea what to be looking for, but one of my children ended up with a speech impairment, and I just needed an environment that was going to let him thrive. We tried him in a competitive business, and unfortunately he reverted and he stopped talking. And so that broke my heart, to be honest, and I became a mom on a mission. And now fast forward, that was from 2003, 2010, we incorporated the school. 2013, we got our license and opened our doors, and we're still growing. And with the help of parents like yourselves, Kidz Kare creates programs that works in partnership with each other. So we have some fun here because we have 2 parents here that are part of our alumni. I'm going to start with Miss Lucy. She's the mother of Chase. Her first deposit with us, and her first meeting with us was December 31st, 2013. And her child, Chase, began his program in 2014. So take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Lucy.
Obviously I'm a mom first and foremost, but I'm also an entrepreneur. So my role in this world and how I bring purpose to my life is through real estate. And being that I'm a realtor, it was extremely important for me to find somewhere that I can have my son, that I knew he was safe, that he was learning, and that was in literally close proximity to my school. And for me, it was a challenge because downtown is very difficult to get into programs, and finding programs that actually match your kid's personality. So Chase is a very active young boy, always has been, always will be. He's in gymnastics now, in competitive gymnastics nonetheless. But I needed somewhere that someone can actually challenge him and really make him, grow. So that's kind of who I am and who my son is.
Fantastic background. To our upper left is Miss Melissa. She's the mother of Nicholas and Sebastian. Her story began with us in as early as 2014. I don't have the exact month for some reason. I don't know why, but I don't. But you actually started with Nicholas at the school at 2015. And Sebastian started August 1st of 2016. So mother of 2 wonderful boys. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Melissa.
Well, thank you for having me, Jennifer. And the date is in June 2014. The reason why I remember, and it's so particular, same thing as Lucia and probably the other parent on the board as well. I'm a mommy first, but when I discovered Kidz Kare, I was mommy in en devenir, or because we were going through the path of adoption. So it was a tricky part for us because we didn't know when we're going to get the call, but I knew that I need to find a safe place that my husband and I would be comfortable with, that I know that the agency would be fine with. But mostly because it was only the two of us in Toronto, we wanted to make sure that we have our little village for a child. And that's what we found from Kidz Kare. The moment like I got a call from the agency that we had Nicholas, I called I think the following day to say that he's coming, and the process started right away. So fast forward, he's been thriving. It's been great. We had all the support that we needed, even when we thought there was a speech impairment, but like they were with us all the way. And then when we got a call for his brother, same thing. They were very welcoming, and to this day the kids remember their time and they're asking to look at pictures and so forth. So it really had an impression on us, but mostly on the kids.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And now we have we fast forward quite a few years, but we have Miss Judy, who's the mother of Rebecca, and is also expecting another customer for us. So we have another one in the works. Her initial deposit as well was February 5th, 2021. And Rebecca started on March 1st, 2021. And on May 27th of 2021, we've got the deposit for the one that's in the making, which is a very, very exciting timeline. So Judy, please take it away.
Yeah, so we're expecting another girl in October. And we're hoping to have her enrolled in Kidz Kare after my mat leave. I work primarily in healthcare administration. So I work for an agency under the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care for the province of Ontario.
Nice.
I've been doing that pretty much for a very, very long time. Like my entire career has been in the government bureaucracy and in healthcare administration. I love my job as much as I love my kids. I don't think being a stay-at-home mom or being a full-time mom was really in it for me. But it was very important for me to find a place that would treat my kid and I guess both my kids, the way that I would treat them if I was able to. So it was a bit of an extensive search, and also given the coronavirus, a lot of the places that we had signed up for actually had closed down or had changed the number of spots available. So it was a bit of a scramble for us. As Jennifer noted, we paid our deposit and like literally 2 weeks later, Rebecca was out the door. So it was a bit of a scramble for us and a bit of a leap of faith, because we didn't have the opportunity to actually do a site visit or meet anybody face to face, or have that opportunity. And I'm just really happy that it's worked out. And like Rebecca absolutely loves it. We love it.
She
and
walks in like she owns the place. So when you
she
do
certainly does.
She's got this little stride. It's so adorable, but oh my God.
She doesn't even turn back anymore. Like she doesn't even turn back to say bye. It's just like out the door.
Yeah, it's amazing seeing little human beings, like, and it's fun. It's amazing because actually all you women, I got the opportunity to see them going. That 15-month stage is mostly that babyish going into toddler, but then as they evolve, they start to speak or their personality comes. So as they go from toddler to preschool, it's a whole other evolution of these tiny little human beings that are going to basically run the world for us. So it's amazing to watch. I still get excited from the time they started to yours started. And a lot of people thought by now I would get bored of it. Absolutely not. My grandchildren at some point are going to come into, can you imagine I'm saying that? My grandchildren at some point are coming into this. So it's got our programming, if anything, needs to evolve. It needs to get stronger. It needs to grow with this times and the way the world's working. So what I'm doing is always trying to stay a little bit ahead of the curve in all of our programs that we're doing. So now we're going to get into some Q&A, and we're going to talk a little bit, I guess, about the past and sort of how you guys made your decisions. And one of the first questions are going to be for Melissa and Lucy, and you guys can take turns on how you want to answer. But we're going to talk about what did you appreciate most about the school during your time there? And from your perspective, on how it's changed. For example, now that you've distanced from the school, is there anything from your perspective that you would advise or think about from the time of then to now in choosing, you know, basically why you picked us?
Well, I know COVID changed things, because I remember when I came in, first of all, husband wasn't with me. But actually a friend of mine was with me to do the visit. And I didn't tell anything to my husband. It was just like a feeling. I just felt at home. And that's what we were looking for, because it's the most precious thing that you're leaving in the hands of strangers when you think of it. So that was important. But even without the visit, I could say the contact with the staff, whether it was Jackie at the time or you, we, both of us, me talking to my husband to say that, you know, like bribe him. It was just like both of us had the same idea. You know what? We're comfortable. We're fine. To the point of using all the other services, which was great. Now, fast forward, I remember, if I'm looking at, let's say, the kids going to school per se, one of the most important things that I love is the ratio. There is not too many kids. There's enough staff around, or even more than usual, and the kids knew exactly who they were dealing with. And even us as parents, whether it's pickup or, because I remember I was coming quite early. I was working at one of the towers, you know, right? So my kids were, instead of rushing in the morning to have breakfast at home, I knew that they could have a little snack with us, but they would have their full breakfast at the daycare. And it was natural, same thing as us. They didn't look back, you know, look at mommy or crying. They just went straight to their classes. So I think it's the safety aspect that was really important, and also how our kids felt, love from the get-go. So that, I think that's the most important thing you can think of, especially with COVID now, that you don't necessarily have access to the location. So basically you have to take a leap of faith, and we're so glad that we did.
Everything's virtual.
Yeah.
Virtual.
Yeah.
So even our tours, we've learned to adapt. It's a very different world trying to give them an inside scoop but keep the kids safe, right? So you've got this fine balance we're constantly playing. But it's true, the safety parts are a big factor. And the good news is we had a lot of the public health even monitor some of our, well, of course they monitor even before we reopened, but they actually use some of our templates, which were really nice. So we know we were always on top of the ball, and now they're everlasting changing. Like we get emails 2-3 times a week about the evolution of this. And we're not lessening any of the protocols or safety procedures. A lot of schools are, and they're getting shut down. So we're watching patterns, and we keep looking from a big picture. And honestly, we've been very lucky we've been able to keep COVID out this long. And so even if it comes in, we have protocols in place to keep each of the sections safe. The kids are spoiled in the sense of how we've divided it. They each now have almost 3,000 square feet to each of the sections. But it is exciting to see how we're progressing in a world that is so scary right now. Lucy, do you have anything to add on that one, or do you want me to go to the next question?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I think I'm going to mirror a little bit of what my friend there just said. I think as a parent, I think we tend to listen to our intuition when it comes to who do we think is going to be the right person or the right facility to look after our children. It's not just the staff that was important, integral part of that. It was the hot meals that were being done, the actual people who actually cared. Like, we actually still communicate with Elaine. She's no longer in Canada, but we still communicate via WhatsApp, and Chase will forever remember her. And it's one of those things where you knew that you were doing the right thing from the moment you stepped into the place. So I went to multiple places before I went into Kidz Kare. And the one thing I noticed as soon as I walked in, it did truly feel like a home. Everybody knew who everybody was. They knew who the kids were. They knew all their little idiosyncrasies. And there was truly a community that was built. And I have some friends still from that previous, that we still touch base with, and we play with them and have play dates. They're in the city still, but we're becoming from Oshawa. But there's long-term friendships that were built. And Chase is forever grateful for that, because that was his first experience with any other kids and socializing, especially when all our family was in Durham region. He had a little family in Toronto that he can call his own, and his friends and play dates. And to me, that was a big thing. Again, the meals, I knew my son was going to get fed properly every single day. And he was a very much an eat man. So everybody who knows my son, he loves to eat, and he'll eat anything in sight. But knowing that he was going to be nourished, not just from an educational perspective, but from a belly perspective, so he could learn, was huge for me as well. So that's, I think, pretty much why my intuition was to go to the school to begin with. In terms of right now, I've looked at some of the more involved programming. What impressed me the most, to be quite honest, because I have such a huge amount of awareness around this, is the mindset part of it that you guys have now on your site. I think it's a world is changing, and our children need to be fully aware from a mindset perspective on how to handle themselves in the world today. It's not just about getting your school and education and getting a job and going out there. It's about being able to look at yourself, have some awareness, be able to function in the world that we have around us. And when we look at COVID, like, we've had to adapt, we've had to pivot, we've had to make movements that we never thought we would have to do before. And awareness and being self-aware and having that internal peace is a huge part. So like when you guys have the yoga stuff, I was like amazing, because I have Chase meditations at night with me. He'll turn the meditation to sleep. And those things are a very big thing for me. And I thought, wow, like you guys are really truly moving with the future and truly looking at kids from a big perspective, not just from let's get them through the door. Like, it's not like let's feed them, let's make sure they're okay, let's make sure they're attentive, which is super, super important. But the other aspect of that is giving them the tools that they need for the future. And that's what you guys are instilling from them from inception, which is a massive thing.
It's sad to say, but one of the things we've seen is an extreme amount of anxiety in children. And so there's such thing now as the COVID child, the pandemic child who has never played in a park, has never had friends or even seen family members. And so we've had a few of those now, and that's part of the pivoting, because we're thinking, wow, this is happening more than once. It's not just that their families are no longer in the downtown core, but what we are seeing are kids that were really confined, and even the fear of playing outside and all those different aspects of it that we were shocked to see, but it had to happen. And so yet, how do you help these kids now take a deep breath and have fun, be a kid? Because you can't learn if they don't get these opportunities to just take a breath. And absolutely great points, ladies. The next one is sort of, I guess, a similar question. You've kind of answered this, but I will pose it out there. What, to your best knowledge, most differentiates us from other schools?
From my previous experience, I love the fact that I could have a date night. That's huge when you're downtown Toronto. You don't know who you're going to trust. Like even those nights out where we can do a movie night when you guys look after the kids and we can step out and have a dinner and have an adult conversation. That to me was a huge impact for my life. And secondly, the fact that you guys had introduced looking after getting nanny care services and actually looking after the other portion of that. Like for me as a working mom and as an entrepreneur, my time is not my time necessarily when I think I'm going to work 9 to 5. It's not that way. And being able to access those kind of services was a huge benefit to me. So I never, and any one of the ones that I've actually interviewed, nobody offered that kind of service, nor do they offer things like date nights and evening nights out, which is unusual because, you know, you're looking for the kids during the day, and I get it. But the same token, the parents need to be taken care of as well, because if they're not good, the kids aren't good. Right. And so it comes back to that whole thing, as I said, like you guys have integrated the mindset now, but I think you started way back when you started looking at, let's look after the parents too. The parents need to have a break too. Yeah, it's not just the working hours, they're 9 to 5 working. Then they come pick up their kid and now they're doing, you know, mommy and daddy duty. Let's give mommy and daddy duty a night off. And to me, that was a huge thing. So that's one of the things that I thought differentiated you guys from the pack right from inception, that part. And also obviously the nanny stuff came in a little bit later, but was a benefit nonetheless.
Yeah, thank you for that. Mel, anything from your perspective?
You know what? I would totally, I've totally forgot about the date night, but it's so true.
Because they're missing them. We're getting a lot of requests. We got to bring those back probably sooner than later.
It's true, because on top of it, for us, it was a question of trust. We were, all our family are in Quebec still now, and we were the only one in Toronto. So yes, we had friends, but a lot of them didn't have kids. So it was a different mindset, different perspective. And we're downtown Toronto. I remember I was living at Liberty Village, and then afterwards in the Dentfort, and still it was like close enough. We could do things. We bought like a Christmas gift. just
Christmas
just
shopping night.
by having
Yeah.
those time around. And to your point, like nanny services, babysitting services at the time, that was amazing. So I think you guys were, this is not something that we've seen, and even now I don't see it. Well, I know it's COVID, but even prior COVID, this is not something that I've seen or I've heard other parents that had kids after us going through daycare in the area and didn't have those type of things. So kudos to you guys, like always like 3 step ahead, and it's always thinking about not only the kids aspect but the whole village, like the family per se. So thank you.
Appreciate that. If the school were represented as a single person, what would its personality be like in only 3 words? What would you guys say? 3 words. Very intriguing question, I think.
It's a single person. Huh.
If they were a single person, how would you describe?
Love, compassion, respect.
Oh, I love that. Now, what do you think? Do you have something there? It's a tough one, I know.
Well, love for sure. Reliable, because I knew that I can count on you guys anytime, all the time. Stability.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's incredible. What would families find most surprising about our company or school? What would they find surprising? I think you nailed it a little bit with the offset services.
That one thing that comes back is that whether it's the teachers, everybody knows your child. Not only the teachers, they're not even in your class, but everybody knows them. Even the little babies that, they're not at that level yet. The kids, they know them, but also the kids are comfortable with them. Because I remember my Sebastian was like the poker face. He wouldn't tell you, you couldn't tell. But if he didn't like somebody, you'll know. But if he loved someone, even prior without talking, you could tell. Because with him, I guess due to adoption, and his history was different with his brother, there was attachment issue, and you guys work a lot with us. So today, if he's doing fine today, I could say that the approach that you guys had in the school, I would say, because for him it was school, in the school system, that really helped for where he is right now. So thank you.
I appreciate that. And we're, to that note, we're actually creating a new format for REPs as we're revamping a lot of the things that are happening at the school. Individual education plans are so crucial to kids who differently in any shape or format. So I personally, that's part of my history with Michael, why it was so important, because I have a Michael and I have a Nicholas too, and to make sure that each kid's differences are still seen as unique points on how their growth are going to achieve their goal. And I think it was Sarah, one of my previous supervisors, who mentioned it's their currency, right? So understanding what motivates a child and what gets a child moving, we really do work as a team to get it. Cross training, super important. It is, we're on a 3rd floor. So our school is on a 3rd floor, and there are a lot of those in downtown Toronto. But do they take their fire evacuations very seriously? Do they take the cross training on what it's going to mean when somebody's away? We have things in place like supply teaching. You can't have, for example, 3 supply teachers in one room. There always has to be a consistent member of the family. And so that's where the cross training really comes into play. And the kids do know the other teachers. COVID's made it tougher because they have to go in full gear, and we've had to change how to do that part of it. But we kept it through, and I'm very proud of this team on how we're still doing that familiarity, even without being able to pop into the rooms as much as we did. We used to do a lot more visits where they're not doing those now, but we've come up with really creative ways so the kids do get to know the other faces. So if they have to come in and they're training somebody new, there's always a familiar face no matter what, until that other person is not. Even our hiring processes are very, very, very strict. So I appreciate that you guys noticed that. That's really nice to hear. So Last question for you guys, and then we're going to pick on Judy for a little bit. What advice would you give new parents who are dropping off their children to our school for the very first time? So that very first, and especially when they can't walk in and their tour was virtual, this is even a more crucial question. What advice would you give them?
For me, you have to look at the fact that you've used your intuition, or however which way you decided to put a strategy in place to choose the right school. Trust that it's the right school for your child, and literally let go. You have to just, we're our kids' biggest Achilles heel if we're not careful. So know that you've made the right decision. Let go, give them that, give them that, okay, yeah, you're good, you're going to be fine, and let them go. Because sometimes when I've seen those kids who are in other schools where they're crying and the mother's crying, you've raised good kids to this point. Trust what your gut says and learn to let go, because honestly, our kids are brilliant and they adapt super, super quickly. And trust me, they will not look back once they're in there.
That's a great point. Melissa, anything to add?
Agree 300%. The other thing is ask questions. I mean, we can't visit, but the phone still exists, right? FaceTime, Zoom, whatever it meets, WebEx, they're still there. So ask questions, and just trust your instinct. At the end of the day, like you said, the kids are very resilient. I think they get it more than adults. So
They do.
Just let go, and then you'll see from, because at the end of the day, they still have to go through the process outside. So might as well start somewhere where you know that they're loved and that you trust. So
it's super important, and especially we have the ratios and facilities to give them extra attention. When they get to grade 1 and they're 1 to 30, it's a lot tougher. So we do tell parents a lot of times, it's okay, they're going to be fine. And if they have a hard day, we'll call you, we'll bug you from work to come a little earlier. And that's why we always say start transitions before you have to go back to work. It always makes things a little smoother. But it is absolutely important that you trust us. And the drop and go method is really what it is. The last little piece I will add to that is, for new parents, try not to hand off your children to one of our staff. Put them down and let our staff rescue them. It's a really great, simple technique at the very beginning to start building trust with new people. But it's crucial, and it's funny because I've actually, most people don't realize is I have 6 godchildren. And 2 actually had 8. 2 of them have grown the need for me, but I've been on their first days at grade 1 in kindergarten, and I see those kids crying. And a lot of that is the anxiety, and especially now with COVID being locked in, they're going to have a lot of that. Let us nurture them, let us be there for you, because it will impact your future years in various schools and various grades. But you raise very confident kids, like knowing their personalities and letting them be. They got their parents' intuition, that's for sure too. So they're going to
don't forget, our energy resonates off of our children. So if we're feeling anxious about a situation or we're feeling hesitant, they're picking up on that more intuitively than we even know. And so if we're throwing that energy out there, they're going to be sitting there putting their back up, not wanting to do that, right? So that's why I said you have to literally, as a parent, say, you know what, trust that you did the right thing. Trust that you did ask enough questions, that you are able to communicate nicely. But then you have to have some faith and just let go, because your children will succeed no matter what you do. Trust me, they will. But you just got to let go and let them know that you're there to support them. But it's good. They're going to be fine, and so are you.
The kids are completely, incredibly resilient. It's amazing what they face and how they take on the world. So Judy, let's get you going. So let's talk a little bit about why you chose us initially, and in what ways would you want or expect what things did you get that you expected, and what things did you get that you didn't expect from us? I'm just curious. So how did you come to that conclusion? How did you get Kidz Kare?
Yeah, so I live by the waterfront. So one of the priorities for us was to find something nearby. So my husband and I did a search for daycares, particularly licensed daycares, because we just felt a little bit more comfortable. So we started looking for licensed daycares around the area, ideally something that was within walkable distance. And again, this was, I think, 2021 of March. And we were just having a bit of hard time trying to get a gauge or a feeling for what these centers were like or what they looked like, because we were getting pictures on emails, and we were getting some canned YouTube videos that other centers were sending us, to tell us, to say, like, this is what the site looks like, this is what the facility looks like. And right from the get-go, we had a really good feeling about Kidz Kare, because you guys actually called us and offered to do like a Teams meeting and like a live walkthrough, which was a lot more personal than like, here are some pictures of the facility and here's a YouTube video on our website. So right from the get-go, we had a really positive experience with that. It was a little bit more personal. We got to talk to somebody who actually walked through the center with her phone, um, while the kids were napping. So it just felt like, from the beginning, we just felt like, okay, this is probably where, I feel comfortable with, like, this is a facility or a center that's open to, having that personal touch. And at the end of the tour, like, the cell phone's still wobbly and she's like, do you have any questions? And, when we were able to like answer it, and it kind of did, like, it felt like we were almost there, because like she sat in the office, with her phone, and she was like, it almost felt like we were there. Just we really felt like, out of all the places that we tried to reach out to, that this was probably the right place for us. So yeah, like, I think that's why we ended up coming here, and don't regret the decision at all.
Aw, I appreciate that. And it's interesting too, hearing the different perspective, because to be honest, you're the first person after COVID we've been able to ask. So it's kind of, it is neat hearing the feedback back. We completely appreciate it. What do you think? And I know it's still an early journey, and a lot of some of these questions were posed for older children, but what do you think the biggest impact on Rebecca really had so far with being at our school?
Yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate in that we live very close to the center, and it seems to be the case that a lot of the other parents live close to the center as well. So like, I've seen other parents, like, besides seeing them at drop off, like, we've seen them in the grocery store, we've seen them at the Harborfront Center, we've seen them at the park. And I think what the biggest impact for us is that, being like, we're actually able to see and meet these people in other settings. And I've noticed, like, my daughter will point out other kids from the class, like, we're in the grocery store, and she'll just start pointing, and she's like, oh, that one, that one, that one, and they'll wave back. So I feel like there's a bit of like a networking or socialization kind of thing for the kids. Like, my daughter Rebecca loves it whenever she sees people from her class, like, in the park.
Aw.
And she gives them a big hug. So it's just, I think it's been really great for her to be able to, see some people and to recognize some people, not only in the center, but outside as well.
Well, and create her own little social network.
Mhm.
Adorable. She is very bubbly, and she's so adorable in how she, even the new starts that start after her, how she helps them adapt, which is really cute. Wait till her words formulate more. Like, this is a child who's going to be talking quite a bit. Mark my words on this. But it's amazing. She talks with her eyes and her energy, and the way that she points things out, it is quite adorable. So I'm impressed to see it even out of the school. So that's really good. And it's nice to see them in this new way of trying to get social again, right? Like, this
Mhm.
is the new way for these kids. How do you think she would feel? Like, how did you think her first week, let's go back to her first transition week a little bit, and
Mhm.
maybe to where she is now? Like, I did mention about her confidence walking in the hallway, because I love waving to her when I'm sitting at my desk. But it's funny because she's just, you would think she's been there for years, the way she sort of owns that hallway. And that's the part that our team just chuckles, because she's so cute and so tiny, and she just walks it
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Just to let the other parents know, my daughter was actually born a little bit early and a little bit small, so she was 4.5 pounds at birth. Um, so she's very, very small for her age. And I think that's probably just going to stay with her forever.
Okay.
So she comes across as somebody who's just very, very tiny and a little bit fragile when you see her. When we first started dropping her off at daycare, I got the sense that she was getting treated with kid gloves, just because she was kind of tiny. She was at that point about 17 months and still wearing 1-year-old clothes. Um, but the ECEs or the teachers would would give her to me and say, oh, she's not really into walking today. And I was like, she can walk. She's just lazy and taking advantage of you. Um, which is, I think, on par for what my daughter's actions are. She's very, very headstrong. She's very confident in herself. And, despite the fact that she is very tiny, she does have a swagger to her.
She does. I love it.
And she's not afraid to advocate for herself. And I think when we initially started dropping her off, she wasn't very socialized with other kids or with other families. And just being able to have that environment at Kidz Kare where mommy or daddy wasn't watching over her because we were a little afraid. She was very tiny for her age. I think it's really done wonders for her confidence. She's gotten a lot better at advocating for herself. She's gotten a lot better at doing things on her own. And she's just actually gotten a lot better at just independent play as well.
It was amazing. It's interesting to see Rebecca's sort of evolution, and back in the time when she was sort of giving them a hard time to walk, it was funny because we saw it in her as well, but she likes the extra cuddles, and she's a smart girl. She's making her connections with the adults around her. And then she made the choice to start playing with her friends, right? So it's interesting to see from a toddler's perspective, it's not about holding me or walking. It's about what I want to do now, right? So right now I want a few more cuddles, or right now I want to do this. But unlike other kids, some have a harder time transitioning to walking simply because they're still learning to walk. She didn't have that. You nailed that.
No, she knew how to walk. She just liked being held.
Yeah, she liked to be held. And from our perspective, what most people don't realize is they're starting a new school. Our team, to be 1 to 5, they can't really walk around with 5 toddlers in their hands to one person. But also we have the greater fear of being on the 3rd floor and the fire evacuation. So our team works really hard at teaching them the steps of walking up and down the steps, the fire drills, and all those pieces. Literally right after the first week of transition, we begin they're practicing on those concrete steps to go down 3 floors. So it's really important to understand why we try to get them to walk very early. But trust me, she was fun to cuddle. A lot of people, like, we don't get enough of those 15-month spots, as our other parents have mentioned here. We only have 5, so they go pretty fast, and our team cherishes them because that is our only little glimpse of even the infant world. So we do fall in love very fast. It doesn't take much, that's for sure. But it's amazing to see her come into her own. If the school, so same question I asked our alumni parents, if the school were represented as a single person, what would its personality be in only 3 words? How would you answer that, Judy?
The first word that actually comes to my head is very patient. So, I would imagine Kidz Kare to be like a very patient person. It's a lot of kids and a lot of different personalities, and a lot of headstrong tantrums. So the first thing that comes to my head is somebody that's very, very patient. I also think it's somebody that's really fun and really creative. So those are my 2 other words: being really fun and being really creative. I love the arts and crafts that get sent home to us. Some of them are the more traditional, oh yeah, like here's a painting, and then others are like, oh, it's cotton balls on like, a straw. And you work with what you've got. It's really about, finding the joy in everything and making the best out of it. So yeah, for me, the 3 words would be somebody who's patient, somebody who's very, very fun, and somebody who's remarkably creative.
Oh, that's very unique. Wow. That is kind of fun to say. I was really worried how this question was going to get answered, and you ladies nailed that in such a different way. I love it. So that was kind of fun. And the last thing I think is, what would you think of our school values? What, is there from that perspective, and I can probably even open this to everybody, but Judy, you take it off. Like, our values are very different because it's not like, and I think Melissa said it, it's not about just, okay, we'll occupy your kids till you finish your workday and sort of pass them back. And I think Lucy said the same thing. It's to us, there is a, most people underestimate how toddlers and preschoolers are absorbing information. And I know that the ministry, because we're all licensed, those of us that have the license with the Ontario government, we have to do programming, but we want to do programming. So it's a very different level of how we're impacting the kids, and learning, as much as some people say, even in our babysitting things, is a part of playing. It really is playing to learn. And a lot of people underestimate that. And I think they're surprised to see, even if we're just talking toddlers for a second, how independent they become before we graduate them to the preschool room. Because everybody's like, oh, they're ready. Is it just because they're 2.5? No, it is about their little personalities coming out of their shells, to see that independence, because we're making a decision if that child now can be 1 to 5 to 1 to 8. And so it's the milestones, and people really underestimate, even their own kids, those milestones that these kids are making each and every day at school, and trying to get these parents, get here for 9, let us do our programming. You will be shocked at how these kids will evolve and how quickly. And back to the point of the village, it is because of you guys too. It is we look for parents like yourselves that are invested in these kids' futures. It's not to occupy their time. And we hear some parents, well, I had to have my kids, I was getting older. No, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear the parents that wanted children, that are there to really help us work in partnership, whether it's potty training at a young age, or maybe now it's the pencil grip because we're in preschool and we're trying to figure out how to hold this. And now we're looking at early math skills and early reading skills to get them ready for grade 1. When you get to your next evolution of school, we want to make sure they're completely prepped for that. And then having fun along the way. So I really do appreciate when you said the fun and aspect of it. We don't want to be forgotten. And I think that's part of all the extra programming we do to bring into your homes. And from the anxiety purposes of yoga, we have some story time things coming out. We have some crazy arts and crafts ladies for moms. I'm just going to hint, because a lot of us who used to go paint at little places couldn't do that anymore. So we're trying to see how we can get girls back to painting and doing those fun stuffs. We got some really wild instructors, and I'm also bringing it into the school. So we're putting in an hour of various programs that you're going to start seeing pop out this fall, to bring back some more passion and more ideas in how to elevate our drama, our music, our other areas of aspects of programming. So we're both doing it from a personal level, if you want to do it on a Saturday morning, or even from just at the school, to have these kids just see more faces, to have more faces, but in a safe way for very short periods of time. So it is kind of evolving. It is changing. How this is going to be the new norm or not, we're not sure. But we completely are taking it in a different way. And honestly, we can't do it without parents like yourselves. So making the choice to come with us, we really want you to join. And I love that you use the word village. We want to be part of your village, and you become part of our village. And all together create really happy, healthy children. And like at the end of the day, that's all I wanted to do at the, for Michael and Nicholas. And I'm still excited about their next milestones. And I didn't care if they went to college or they went to university, but when I first started Kidz Kare, it was about how do I get them to that next level and enjoy the ride with them. So for all of you guys who are much younger and going through this journey now, it never ends. You're an advocate for your child from the day they walk into a school like Kidz Kare, and they remain till the day they graduate from these programs. So when they meet their other halves, they're not getting rid of these moms. Like I'm part of this, and we're embedded in their life decisions. But I think it was Lucia, you said something about the the confidence. The confidence starts from toddlers. It starts from where Rebecca's going to, you know, even when I think of how Nicholas first started with us, he was always kind of confident. You're right. Sebastian was way more hesitant, but even bringing that out and how he's going to handle it in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and future in high school and university. And it goes by in a blink of an eye. It starts with your first choices.
I just want to add to this because yes, Sebastian we were a bit concerned because of the attachment part, but today, and I can even see that it started even with you guys, because today one of his best friend, when he started school, it's a child that is a cancer survivor, but instinctively, Sebastian was overprotective of this child. It's his best friend till this day. So, and same thing with Nicholas. Nicholas is a very sensitive child, but I remember when you guys had a little girl that came from France, and you had asked us if Nicholas could basically translate for her because she didn't know. And Nicholas, from his 2-year-old mind, was like, no, school is English, at home it's French. And sure enough, that little girl basically spoke English within a month. Just by the interaction, feeling comfortable. So it's kudos because I see it now that in school, like my eldest is in grade 3, the youngest is in grade 1. And the foundation, yes, there's us, but also by having you guys part of our village, the foundation was strong. So they're comfortable and going along with their school journey. Because I mean, it's like their little society. It's like a mini example of a society, and it's basically you have to make sure that their kids are equipped to face whatever they're going to face every day. So it makes a huge difference. And that's why I think as a parent, yes, I'm a mama bear, but that's by nature, but you always have to do what's best for your child or your family per se.
It's true. And like I said, it never ends. You're going to worry about them even as he's going back to Waterloo for the first time this January, and it's his last semester. And my heart is still letting go again. And it's funny because you think, oh, it's only when they were small, or no, I'm telling you, mothers, like it's still as strong as it was when they were small. But like you said to me, I have the confidence that they now can make good choices. And I remind them of that all the time. And it's amazing watching. I thought I was going to be okay with it once they were done. I still love it. From the minute I saw all of your kids get to their next levels, it's going to be so much fun. So for all the new parents out there watching this video, just pick us, come join it, be part of the family, come see why we have these types of great parents joining our network, be part of a family that wants to make an impact, wants to make a difference, keep our kids safe. That's still #1 priority, but have fun along the way, because we also as adults like to have fun. And I think it's a nice, wholesome way to bring it together on why Kidz Kare. So any closing remarks? But from my perspective, I'm very thankful and very blessed to have women like yourselves come join me on this panel of experts. You are the experts, and we're honored that we got chosen. And we want to still be part of your lives as your kids keep getting older. And hopefully we still stay creative and energetic and keep sort of trying with our different service offerings to stay in touch, regardless of all the far points you guys have moved to, because we do miss you. And for Judy and all the new parents coming in, we gotta keep up that momentum. And trust me, once COVID lifts and we're able to bring you guys back in, there are going to be some really nice social events. We haven't, like these ladies know, some of the big stuff we did. We haven't touched on that for 2 years. So we're all itching to get the community together and do some of that stuff, especially on our beautiful playground, and bring you guys all in. It's coming. It's going to come. I just think probably for a little bit longer. But in the meantime, this virtual side of us, we're going to have some fun with it, and we're going to try some new, unique ways to bring it. Any last closing comments for these new parents watching this video going, yeah, I think I'm going to choose them, and you know, any last little reassurances you want to give them, ladies?
For myself, I don't know where I would have been without you guys, to be quite honest. You guys were the backbone of my family and raising my son, and being able to allow me to do what I love and my passion in my work, but also to provide a safe haven for my son and to be able to challenge him, as I said. I don't think I never second guessed it from the moment I walked in. if I made the right decision. It always has been, always will be the right decision I've ever made. So if anybody's thinking about this particular facility in relation to others, trust me, it's night and day. I did my research. I'm very analytical. I go through a whole strategy about how I choose things, and from this perspective, from my perspective, it was the right choice, hands down.
Melissa, Judy, anything to add?
I would concur. I mean, I don't know, with our perspective with the adoption and everything, I don't know what we'd have done without you guys. And I just so thankful. And if I could have you guys here in Ottawa for aftercare for school, I would have taken it hands down. So
we're working on it. We want to expand. It's coming, but I got it was a little far still, but we're trying.
So parents, I mean, if you're in that situation that you're looking for a place for your children, it is the place. Pick up the phone, call. They are more than welcome to support you at any step of the way, even when you need services for your child. Because I remember for speech and so forth, like there's so many things that it can do. So I mean, there's no regret, whether it's from myself or my husband. And my kids now, they're grown, but they still remember their days, and you can see how impactful it was.
And Judy, closing comments?
Yeah, it's a great place. Not just the location and the amount of space that these kids actually get, which is amazing in itself. It's really brightly lit. There's all sorts of things that the kids can play with. But more than anything else, it's really the people. Like my daughter can pick out every single person that works there. Not only her teachers, but the cleaner and the cook and Sean. And everyone knows her. It was her birthday actually last week, and she was singing happy birthday in the halls, and everyone was clapping for her. And you can't, that's not something that you should take for granted. Everyone that I've met and everyone that I've talked to loves being there. The kids are happy, the parents are happy, the staff are happy, and it is just an amazing, amazing place to send your child.
Ladies, I can't thank you enough. I know that I have kept you from your lunch hours, so I truly, truly appreciate, and poor Lucia, she's working through this. I truly appreciate the time, the effort, the energy, everything that you have put forth for this. And truly, our journeys are not done together yet. We have a lot more fun to have. And honestly, it's been a pleasure seeing old faces, meeting new ones. And as we get to the next evolution of Kidz Kare, I'm so glad you're part of the family and part of the joy of the journey that's part of your kids' lives. Thank you for trusting us with your most important thing, which is your children. So from all of us at Kidz Kare, thank you for picking us. For all you new parents, get registered, get in here. We cannot wait. We have an anxious team ready to grow again and really get kids going on loving to learn. And our motto is where love and learning go hand in hand. Yes, we love our food. Let's be honest that we all love our food, and teaching kids to love food in a world like that is super important. Everything from activities to what they're choosing and eating healthy, but even our fun Fridays and our meals that we do, our Worldly Wednesdays, we want to expose kids' palates, because of all ages, food is part of learning and its substance. And I hope all of you go have a nice good meal after this and have a lot of fun. So honestly, thank you, ladies. I know we took a lot of your time and really appreciate this. And we'll be in touch with a bunch of more things and activities we can all do together.